Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of the Lotus Unfolding podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Elise, and this is your other host, Heather. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
And yeah, we had a really good time recording this episode. So we hope you enjoy listening and have a good time receiving. All right. So, the Met Gala just happened, right? The Met Gala 2023. I don't really like anything that's like an award show, or I don't keep up with celebrities. I don't know who like 90% of the people there, like who they are. And the ones who I do know of, it's only through like word of mouth or like having the internet at all. Some things you just can't avoid in this life. But I do want to talk about some of the fashion, just because like, okay, yes, I'm like a hippie or whatever, but I'm also like, I've always been a fashion girly. Like, I don't really know anything about fashion. Let's get that off the bat. Like, my perspective is not going to be that of like a well-seasoned New York fashion design student. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be that of me. And the first look that I want to address is Miss Doja Cat. Like, personally, love Doja Cat, but, like, okay, have you seen The Hunger Games or, like, read The Hunger Games? You probably have, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, how they'd be looking in the Capitol? Like, the looks they were doing with, like, the prosthetics and the fucking surgeries and everything? Never in my life have I seen something straight up out of the Hunger Games Capitol, like, more than that particular outfit. And, like, I kind of love that she was just meowing into, like, the interview mics. Like, that was funny. I think she's funny. But, like, oh my god, we are living in a dystopia. People are, like, literally looking straight up out of the Capitol and the Hunger Games, the elite, the Hollywood clan. And, that's the first. Tell me your thoughts on the look that Doja served.
Well, I can't comment on the look she served because I have never seen it. But I did have an interesting experience with what, like, I totally did think about the people and how they were dressed in the Capitol and the Hunger Games, like, synchronistically recently. I was somewhere and I saw someone with some, like, very convincing and very, like, well done eyelash extensions, and I was like, oh my god, this person, the environment that they were in, it looked like totally natural, but like I was like something about that person's eyelashes made me like realize how that whole kind of place that I was at, like the restaurant and then just like the complex that it was in and the whole like area that it was in was like that area like in the Hunger Games, and how like everybody just kind of being dressed to the nines or something, or like with these exaggerated features. I mean, like, it looked very beautiful to me. I was just like, wow, this is very exaggerated, and like it was a moment of realizing that.
Oh, you can you come on. Can you see?
Oh wow.
She looks
like
prosthetics make her look like an actual fucking cat. And like it's cool, but like I'm also a little bit scared because that's literally in the Hunger Games book. like did she think about that, or is that just the route that we're going? I wonder. Yeah, there were some other people that just like looked good. I don't really know about anything like who they are or like what anything. I don't think Zendaya was there. I know who Zendaya is. Like I didn't see Timothy, like, but I did see that Jared Leto also dressed up as a cat, but he was just wearing a full suit, like a cat suit. So
there was a cat theme for sure.
It was like, Karl Lagerfeld. I don't know if that's how you say his name. No disrespect meant. Apparently people don't like him because he's controversial, but we're not judgmental like that in this family. So, yeah, he had a cat or like some cats that he really, really like bonded with and was fond of. So people were like commemorating his cats because the theme was like in honor of Karl, because he died in like 2019 or something. Yeah, I don't. Again, this is like the most I've known about any event that any celebrity has ever done in years. Like, I don't keep up with this usually. But that was just, like, too interesting. I was like, okay. Straight up out of the dystopian novel. Yeah.
Okay, that makes me think about, have you ever read the book 1984?
I haven't read it, but my mom either is or just was reading it, and she talks about it all the time, and some people in my high school read it, but I wasn't one of them.
I think I listened to, like, most of it on an audiobook in high school, but it had, like, yeah, it was a pretty, like, impactful story, but something that was really interesting that about, like, living in a dystopian society that, like, when I heard that audiobook maybe, like, 8 years ago or something seemed, like, really far-fetched to me, but now is, like, something that I can totally see. It was, like, they were talking about how there's, like, a newspaper, and then when they, like, decided to change something, like amend the national history of the country, they would just go back and change the newspaper and then be like, all right, like, that's the, like, history now. And at the time I was like, that would never happen. That's so dystopian and outrageous. But, like, with the internet, you can edit you can edit an Instagram post with 50,000 likes. You can edit a Huffington Post article. You can edit, like, you can go back and edit anything, and, like,
Weird.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's like, if you write okay, say something tragic happens, and there's, like, an article published where it's like, you know, this is, like, the casualty toll, and they have to go back and keep editing that the more people they find or some shit like that, like, and it's like, oh, at first it said 16 and now it's like 100, now it's like 200 or something. Like, that's crazy. It's like you can't go back and find, like, the original copy of when it was posted. It's like, when this was posted there was only this much, and then why can't you just write another article? Like, I think that we should keep history, like, for the sake of history itself. Like, especially, you know, because I was just in, like, some really ancient, like, okay, the earth is the same age no matter where you go, basically. But, like, civilization-wise, I was in some ancient places. And it really made me think about, like, how much of history we have and how much we don't have. Because in some places, like, oh, yeah, this is, like, we have history that goes way far back here. But then you go to these other sites, and it's like, yeah, this is way older than anything we have written down, and we don't know what the fuck was going on. And it's like, that's kind of frustrating. Like, I loved it. It was really cool to, like, be like, yeah, you really don't know. But also, it made me want to know. It made me be like, the fuck? What happened? Why'd they burn the Library of Alexandria?
Yeah, it's like a sculpture. What gets preserved out of history, like what edges of things just still are there or, like, survive, and then I think the saddest part is that like, mostly the things that survive are, like, the things from, like, colonialist countries. Like, the things that get destroyed are, like, the countries, like, that were destroyed. But there's still, like, I mean, there's roots of lots of things left over. Or, like, being in Peru and seeing the sides of the mountains scarred from where they would do, like, the terraced agriculture, and, like that's something that stood the test of time, like, of, like, human culture, like a scar on the earth. But wow, yeah,
that's, like, it's crazy because, you know, everything ends up the way it is meant to be for a reason, and it's like you can learn from what is, like, standing and what we are taught and what we know about, and then we can learn from, like, the hidden implications and, like, the byproducts of that history unfolding as well. So yeah. So, Heather, can you remind me what degree your rising is at?
16 degrees of Cancer.
Okay, so it wasn't, like, it's not right now. It was probably, like, what, a week ago or something, when Mars was right on your ascendant. How was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a thing. Yeah, I feel like it's just been a lot of tension, pressure, conflict on me, which is fun.
Yeah, on the way
But
you
I do
show
feel
up,
it,
especially that aspect of yourself.
I do definitely feel it loosening now, though. Like, I was definitely feeling a lot of pressure, um, really from multiple things, and I do feel it easing off now. It's interesting that with the Scorpio stuff going on too, just a lot in water, So to have
and that opposing all the Taurus stuff happening right now.
Yeah, and then all the Taurus stuff, like being in my 11th house has been really lovely. Like,
I love
friends,
Taurus.
Networks,
my 9th house.
Social.
Is
my 9th house.
Like, okay, as Paris Hilton would say, that's hot. Like, I love Taurus over my 9th house because I'm in a 9th house year right now, so I'm in my Taurus year. So this Taurus season is like the sun and like Mercury, everything, like lighting all that up for me. And it's like, okay, Mercury retrograde, yeah, I feel it. And all the like Uranus and the North Node and stuff, like I feel that too. It's not all easy, but it's like, it's nice. And it's like causing me to establish levels of trust and like showing up in myself that I didn't know were like actual tangible possibilities. You know what I mean? Yeah. The expansive aspect of the 9th house for me with Taurus, like having the sun in there, I can only imagine that like the kind of expansion that comes with the 11th house, like the networking and the kind of like noticing the way your sovereignty plays a part in the fact that you're all one and the same with everyone else. Like, that has to be really nice, especially it being like the Venus ruled Taurus yumminess. I just like Taurus as a sign, so.
Yeah, I've just recently been really seeing like the layers of networks, like how any community is not just like the interactions that are happening in that community, but then like the characters in that narrative have people that are attached to them, and then like there's other aspects in that part of the community served by this part of the community which is connected to that. Like, I've just been seeing like 7 layers of like 11th house things recently with all of the activation, and it's been a really interesting observation, to say the least.
Yeah.
And like personal and like job stuff, like it's just like I can see it. It's just, I love how transits, like when there's like a lot of things transiting a particular area of your chart, like it's just nice like to be able to really like that, those topics are just so loud for like a time, and
you're like honing
really
in those the energies of those. Speaking of like 11th house transits, and going back to what we originally started talking about, Mars transiting through Cancer's my 11th house. So like I've had Mars going through my 11th house, and it's definitely been like, bang, here's energy, and it's also been like, because this Mars and Cancer cycle, it preceded a very, very long Mars and Gemini cycle, and it's definitely noticeable, like the energy behind that's like, or that's not really behind, but like that's being added to the 11th house right now for me, because my 11th house is empty, at least in Hellenistic astrology.
natal chart.
In Hellenistic, because I have Jupiter in Cancer in Vedic, but I'm not sure if like the whole sign versus like any other house system, like I'm not sure how that translates. I've just started studying Vedic really recently. I haven't really gone very deep into it yet, but you know what else I will say has been interesting is because we touched a little bit on Pluto going like into Aquarius and then stationing retrograde. It probably goes back into Capricorn, which will be like a whole thing, but the thing that I'm like noticing a lot is Saturn being in my 7th house, being in Pisces. It's like there's a lot, like a level of maturity and like older friendships for me. Like almost all my friends are older than me now. Like by like a year minimum. Like that's like the minimum. Not like the friends that I've had for a long time, like that, not them. And some of them, they are older than me. But like the new additions to like my circle, I have people who are like like 13 years older than me who I talk to like basically every day. Like those are my besties. And I'm like, why do my friends have like wives and husbands and children and I'm basically like a child? I mean, kind of. I mean, I was even like, people would argue that I was like an adult as a child, but then I still feel like a kid in some ways. I have an Aries moon. Let's be real.
As someone who has, like, my 7th house is Capricorn, just ruled by Saturn, yeah, there's definitely a partnering with, like, an older energy, or, yeah, like, you're talking about those, like, one-on-one, like, deep friendships. My friends have always been older. Like, when I was in school, now I have a lot of friends that are 1, 2, 3 generations older than me, and partnerships as well. Like, yeah, it's noticeable. Yeah, I'm so curious to see how Saturn transiting your 7th house, like that whole 2.5-year cycle, how that goes, because I remember when yeah
Stop.
when Saturn
Stop
was in
right
Capricorn.
Like, we're not gonna say anything other than like Lana Del Rey era. Yeah.
Okay, something I want to talk about is learning something that you'll later on use, like noticing the moment that a seed was planted, and perhaps in that moment you don't notice that that's what's like that experience is going to be so important later on, and maybe you do, maybe you get a feeling in that moment like, wow, I might need this later. And I'm just curious if you've had any experiences like that, Elise, or you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I do have some experiences like that, but the first thing that comes to mind is like this Instagram caption that I saw the other day, and it basically translated to, like, as that because everything is happening in like divine timing, something that happens today, today itself might be more meaningful tomorrow. And I was like, wow, that, like, I had to sit down and like write that one down and think about it. I was like, today might be more meaningful tomorrow. So if I'm like kind of hard on myself one day, but then I still get everything done, the next day I'm going to be really grateful that I still accomplished everything that I did. And to like go specifically into like the theme of a seed being planted, it's like, oh, I didn't know that I was going to utilize this in the way that I do. I feel like that's happened so many times over the last few years especially, but here's an easy one. Mic technique. I learned this in high school because I was in the jazz choirs and I was like sang with the handheld microphones. So now I know about like, don't like tap on the mic, or don't like breathe on it, don't scratch it, don't like, I'm kind of breaking a rule right now because like if I was being really, really good, I wouldn't have it adjacent to like my face and I would be closer to it. But this is the setup I've got. Y'all can hear me. But I learned that and I'm applying it in a podcast setting. And it's not a handheld mic. I mean, I can speak with it in my hand, but it's like a standing, like little tripod kind of situation. And yeah, it's like practical application of those little seeds that are being planted. What's another one that I'm thinking of? When I was a dancer as a child, I never thought that the way that I was moving the energy, like in my body and through my body, would be important to the way that I later became attuned in Reiki by my dance teacher. And by the way, this right here, that's like, I got that from her when I was really, really young in like a bag of old clothes. So good synchronicity. But anyways, yeah, it's like the way that I was moving the energy through my body and the way that things like were flowing, I didn't know that I would later apply like that's how I would move with Reiki and then into like the yoga asanas in the yoga teacher training course right now. So the way that I'm like moving through the asanas is the same flow, and it's the same flow that you find in nature, in sacred experiences of any kind. It's like, yeah, I didn't know until I knew. And you can never know until you know. You can't get mad at yourself for not knowing until you know.
I had a similar experience with something something similar. It was like 2016 December, and I was visiting Southern California, staying with a friend, and there was this person that was also there, with me and my friend, and he just started showing us like how to move chi. He was like drawing a ball of energy, and then he was sharing it with us, and we were passing it back and forth, and
Cool.
it was like, in that, I had done yoga before. I hadn't done any kind of like energy studies that I later on did, but yeah, now I totally think about that experience. Like, yeah, when I'm like teaching yoga and I'm doing like a certain circulation of light kind of energy or something, or sometimes I'll just be dancing by myself, or
like,
just drawing the lines.
It's making me think of two things. First of all, Avatar: Last Airbender. It's like bending energy, which is actually a thing they do in the show at the end. But like, yeah, bending the energy. That's like where Reiki kind of is. And like, I try to explain it to people this way. Some people haven't seen the show, so it's like a hit or miss. But energy bending, it's like you tune yourself to be able to move the energy, or the energies just move through you depending on how active you want to get in your the way you give. But it's also making me think of when I was a belly dancer, because like the way the energy moved through the body there, it was completely different from the way that the energy would move through my body, say in like ballet or like lyrical, like that's like a contemporary kind of class. Like, wow, belly dancing was really interesting. I really missed belly dancing. It was a fun class, and like the way that the energy moves through your body, and like the symmetry, and like the way like your arms move. It's always like, it taught me so much about duality and like symmetry and balance. Like, here, I'll give a little like example, because this is actually interesting. So they did like the snake arms, right? And when one arm is going up, the other arm is active, pulling down your muscles. So it's not just like, oh, you're letting it flop and you're bringing it like, it's like you're constantly like activating both muscles in your arm, and it gets really, really tiring, especially when you have like your hands like activated too. It's like, and I was walking on the treadmill today and I had like my weights in my hand, and I'm doing the snake arms with the weights, and I'm like, oh my god, I can feel that so much, like every muscle in my arm. It's like really, like that style of dance especially teaches you to be super, super aware of the like the breath of the body, not like the fact that you're breathing in and out in your body, but like the natural, like your body is breathing on its own, and not like automated breathing, like, oh, you can breathe without thinking about it, but like, okay, you have your breath where you're respirating through your lungs, but then within that, like your body is just also breathing kind of in tune with everything else all the time without you thinking about it. And I know this kind of, if you know, you know, like it just makes sense. The same kind of movements would happen in the hips in belly dance, and like when one hip is going up, the other one's going down. It's always like it's so interesting that something that came from basically the Middle East, give or take, it moved energy through the body in the way that they talk about it in like Indian tradition. We have the chakras going through every part of your body, and then also in Japanese tradition, Reiki, where the energy's moving through, or Chinese tradition, meridian system. I'm sure Native American system has something to do with it. I'm sure that some old Celtic ass shit has something to do with it. I'm sure anywhere in the world you go that you're gonna find something that like all the different things are connected in flow, and that's like what the connection I'm referring to is. That was a tangent, but it was worth it.
Yeah, that makes me think of another thing that I wrote down. Just walking through my day recently, I'll feel like how I feel in yoga when I'm on my mat and I've just kind of moved in 3 dimensions, and I'm like, whoa, I'm in a point that is like the intersection of several dimensions, and I'm just kind of like, I'm here exactly in this like center point, but I'll be feeling that way just like walking through my day, just like interesting, walking through doorways, like, whoa, okay, I feel that like central channel or something, but feeling that like alignment. And then tuning in. There's like an inherent clarity that comes to like being in that centered place, like you're talking about, like one, like this arm goes up and this arm goes down, and like it's it's when something moves out of one space, another thing fills, and then like it's just like it's this continuous dance
Constant
of all of these things.
ebb and flow, yeah. The Lila Rasa, it's just going and going. I love it. And it's like, what you just made me think of is like something that I was recently like noticing and thinking about was opening portals, and that makes you sound like a wizard or something. But like, yeah, like, okay, here's an example. Say you have like some crystals or rocks, or maybe even like a pen and your notebook and your laptop on your desk, right? Something in front of you. I think of crystals and rocks just because like I like them. They're cute and they're fun to like have around. I'm not like, oh my god, put the amethyst with the note under your pillow and sleep with it and manifest your dream man. Like, I don't do that, but like I like to have them around because they're cute and they're nice, and I like to like be with them. They're cute. But like the way you have them arranged, even the simple like degree and like placement of them opens up a specific portal, just because like that's the way things are arranged. And you can think of it same with like your laptop. It's like, okay, if everything is like straight up, very symmetrical and like then that's the realm that you're living in. And then if you like tilt your pen, that unlocks a new realm. You just open up a new portal. And it's like you have to be really paying attention and kind of know what I'm talking about to be able to notice those things. And it makes it sound kind of like we're living in like some like movie, some grand like, oh, like like Rick and Morty type thing, like you can jump through and like now you're in a land filled with like orange trees and purple grass and stuff like that. And it's like I mean, I guess if you're one of those people who has like actual vision and things like with your eyes, and the physical world changes when you open up these little portals, then sure. But most of us notice it in the subtle ways. And sometimes, for me, the way a room feels and like appears can change with those little like arrangements and like tilting of the rocks and the pens and things.
An experience of going through portals that I've been having recently is I see angel numbers like a lot just everywhere. Same. But I had this experience, and I've had this experience lots of other times, but like we have all these very big dramatic ramps on the highways here, like more dramatic than any other city I've ever lived in for some reason. And so like I'm going up this ramp and it's big and dramatic, and I look and it's like, you have 111 miles like left in your tank, and I'm like, all right, I'm going through this 111 portal, like up this ramp, zoom, like here we go.
I love that. Yeah, through the portals of the angel numbers. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Or like there's this point where I kind of cut through this parking lot on my way to work in the morning. And this morning I was like going through this parking lot or whatever, and then I look down and it's just like 88, 88. It's just like eight's just like going down like the dashboard. You just sent me something
with 88 like the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like those moments, and maybe all that's being pointed at too in those moments is like a portal into presence, like a portal into just noticing like in this moment I'm here.
I think that's it. I think that's all we can really credit it to, and like noticing, because like we said in the last one, every next item on your treasure hunt is always right where you are. So sometimes we get people who are like, you guys are a little bit irrational, and we're like, okay, cool. Like I can be logical. I just get really unhappy. So, like, if I'm purely logical, I'm not gonna be happy about life. I need to have some sense of mystery and mystical, like, story that's unfolding, and like some sort of like beautiful. Oh, that's a good. Okay, here's what I need. Is something like a plot line. And part of the plot for me is shit like sacred geometry and like religions, like mixing religions and old practices and things like that. And something that is interesting to me, it's 555 for me, by the way, portal, is the whole like Kabbalah thing that I was kind of working with for a while. Just the simplest like connection that I made was that like, okay, we've done this before, we've done this mess, but basically here I'm using this because I'm not pulling up anything else. You can put the Tree of Life Kabbalah straight up from the bottom to the top on this shape, and this shape is like super important, sacred. I had an experience where I like basically figured out like this is how time runs, this is how everything unfolds, and right there in the middle, in the center, that is like, you can always come back to that space. You're never not in that space, is what I kind of figured out. Like the loops are going around and unfolding, and you go through each one, but you're never not in the center. And then later, I had this correlation come up where a chakra was assigned to each point here, and there's 10 points, so there were 3 extra chakras, which I found out were what things people actually work with that I didn't know about. And it's like, the one in the center, that was the heart chakra. And it was like, oh my gosh, be here now. I was just reading that like a year ago. Be in the heart center, listening to the Ron Boss lectures. He's always talking about being in the heart cave, in the heart center, and living life from the heart, and loving awareness. And everything just kind of came together. It was like, that's what loving awareness and like living from the heart center, that's what this was talking about. That's what Kabbalah, and that's what the chakra correlation to that is talking about. That's what he was talking about. That's what, like, the symbolism of like the heart of Christ on the cross is talking about. Loving awareness, like, yeah, it's a tasty place. One of those really good portals. Good realm.
Yeah, being centered in the heart, only good things can come of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. It goes beyond good or bad. It goes beyond the realm of dualities. It goes beyond like, oh, this is good and this is bad. It's like anything that happens in the heart, it's just love.
Yeah. You are me and I'm you. That's the next thing I wrote down.
Looking into someone else and seeing that you are not different than them. You are them. And it's not like, oh, I see myself in you, I'm like you in this way, and I'm like you in this way, and I'm like this other person this other way. Like, that's something that, especially you can note in astrology, like, oh, I'm like you a lot because we both have prominent Virgo placements.
Yes,
but
we do.
Beyond that, yes, we do. Beyond that is like, we're just each other, and we're all just in this experience unfolding, and anything that makes us feel separate or hurts us or makes us struggle, that's all temporary, first of all, and it's all what people would call the ego. I feel so fucking hoity-toity when I talk about this stuff, but it's like, what else is there really to talk about? So, you know, yeah, it's like we are all constantly looking into ourselves all the time. This microphone, this plant, this laptop, my water, I am everything. Like and it's like we're only in different forms because we all have a different like little purpose to fulfill. Who's to say what that really is? Like a faucet is gonna drain, it's gonna give me water, and the towel is gonna dry my hands. Can't really say what I'm gonna do besides live and be embodied in myself, I guess, the best I can, but that's what everything's doing.
Yeah, and like the Hall of Mirrors that I've been experiencing lately, and like all the interactions with all the people that I'm having, is like noticing, like when I think about you or me and I'm you, it's like when someone does something that I resonate with or that I see myself in or that I find really pleasant, I'm just like, yes, that's like in my head, like there's like a cheerleader, like, yeah, you know, and then someone does something, or so, like if someone's really reactive to a situation, and in my head I'm just like, ugh, like because I'm seeing myself like having been super reactive, or like how I am super reactive, um, and and I think that's why it can, when you're in that, when I'm in that headspace, why I can get hooked, why I can get activated when I see something I really do or don't like.
You're Leo. It's okay, girl.
Yeah,
you have
but
that lion aspect of yourself. The strength card, Leo correlation. Yes. It's the lion, because you have that tamer, like that part of yourself that tames the lion, but you also have the lion, and you were just talking about this, like we were just on a call the other day, and it was like you were talking about my ego sometimes is so fucking big, like when I'm listening to Baby Tron in my car. But yeah, that's the Leo lion. That's like the fierce. It's the ego, but it's like the ego's not necessarily like a negative thing. It's just powerful. And but so is the tamer of the ego.
I laugh at myself all the time when I'm in my
I know what you meant.
Leo ego. I totally laugh at myself because I'm just having fun and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, literally, it's just funny. It's hilarious. Dude,
trust me, I understand. I think that's a fire sign thing because I'm a Sag Sun, Aries Moon in Hellenistic. Like, I be doing the silliest stuff and I don't care at all. Like, okay, something that I've always thought is super fun that most people are like, what? Why are you doing that? Is like when you have news or something, be like, guess. And instead of saying guess and then telling them right away, being like, I don't know what. And then you tell them, no, you make them guess. That shit's fun. Like, I like to play silly little games. I like to laugh at things that people don't think are funny. I just have no care that there's some people out there who are like deciding to be dreary about something that I can laugh about, And like the guessing game thing, like and like I'm just thinking about like dumb jokes, like dumb ongoing jokes. Like there was on that Turkey trip, there was another like fire sign guy there, and we were doing this dumb ass bit. We would be doing like a frat guy voice, be like, saw dude, and everyone, I can guarantee you, no one thought that was funny except for us. We thought that was hilarious. We were like, this is so stupid, but it's so funny. Like, fire signs, we have a sense of humor. Get over it. I wonder
fire
how like fun. Yeah, like air sign humor is different. Like it can be more intellectual, but it can also just be like, it's just different. Like fire sign humor makes no sense. It's just like goofy and weird.
Yeah, it's just playful, and I think air sign humor is like, it's fast, it's surface level, it's like quick jokes or something.
Yeah, and then it transforms, it cuts deep in a moment. Like the way fire transforms, it's like has this dance quality to it. It's like, because back to like Kabbalah, fire is like the highest element out of the 4 worlds. It's like the most divine element out of the 4 like earthly ones that we have. So it's like this passionate, like if you know kind of energy to the jokes. It's like, no, yeah, you can't explain this because you kind of have to be there for like the whole moment of the, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's fire signs though. You can't forget that I'm also like significantly a water sign when it comes to like Vedic astrology. So
yeah. Have you gracefully said no to anything recently, Elise?
Ooh, I love that question. I guess, like, little things. Like, my dad offered me something, like, to eat, or, like, to go do something or whatever, and I was like, no, I'm okay right now. Like, I was just looking out for my best interests, and I was, like, very, like, it was casual, no one was mad at each other, and there was no tension. It was, like, just I was full, or, like, I didn't want to eat that, or I had dinner plans or something like that, Like, I think, I definitely know the experience that you're describing is like being like merciful with yourself and like looking out for your best interest through your words.
I had an experience where I requested something of one of my friends, and I wasn't sure if they were going to say yes or no to like my request, and they said no quickly, but the way that they said it, like, I was asking them, like, it was something I wanted them to say yes to, but I went into like the question knowing that they might say no, and when they said no, I didn't feel like any aversion. I didn't feel like they didn't like me. I didn't have any like negative. I was just like, wow, they said no, and like that's okay. And I felt like in that moment so inspired because I'm afraid to tell people no, because I don't want them to think that I don't want to help them or like da 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 da. But like sometimes there's a natural no, and I felt like I learned so much or just had so much appreciation for my friends' no in that moment, even though it was something that I really wanted them to say yes to.
It's like respect.
Yeah, it was like respect, and I just appreciated the grace, like
right.
the delivery, like how it was like even though it was fast, it was like a response, not a reaction, you know?
I absolutely love the way that you're talking about this, because to wrap it into Kabbalah, like I have been this episode, my like little thing that I do, the fourth Sephiro, the fourth node, which also goes back into like the node, like everything being like a net and like connected and affecting each other. This is the first thing I thought of as well. I just didn't know if we were going to talk about it. But yeah, the word for the fourth Sephiro in English is mercy or grace, Hesed. And it's like that correlates in my other little like additional practice on top of that to the throat chakra. So grace coming through your words. Sorry about the car that's pulling up. It's gonna be a little loud for a second. But yeah, emanating grace through your words, or maybe forming grace or creating grace, or it could be the manifestation of grace, all the different four worlds that you have coming through your words. I've been really thinking about that and like working with, especially now that we're hosting this podcast, I feel an adjustment happening through my throat chakra, so therefore through how gracefully I carry myself and how my energy flows through my words and how my energy flows through my body and how my words flow through my body and through my mind and which words I choose to put to certain situations.
Yeah. I've had, like, to go back to how we were talking about those, like, multi-generational friendships or, like, being, like, seventh house but not, like, relationship partner type of thing, just, like, friendship kind of things, with, like, older people, and observing in myself, like, a lack of that grace, or, like, very much still being, like, very much a maiden, like, and learning so much about how to, like I had this realization that I'm really not, like, a rules person. I'm really not someone that likes to enforce rules on other people. Like, I don't like to follow rules. Like,
rules are for the weak. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But like, I know some people that are really good with rules, but not in like a, if you don't follow this rule, like, you will be penalized.
Yeah, not like in an authoritative sense.
Yeah, but they're just really graceful about expressing structure, like, protective structures that need to be there, like, for reasons, valid reasons. And I've just been so enjoying, like, observing. Like, sometimes I'll come to them and I'll be like, hey, this is XYZ situation. And then I, like, get to observe how they handle that, and just observing that grace in practice and knowing, like, that that's something that comes with age and time and experience that, like, I will be growing into. Feels really, like, exciting, and because you can see that there's, like, I can see there's not that aversion, there's not that bracing. Like, for me now to say no to someone, there's, like, this bracing of, like, or, like, a procrastination of putting it off, like, oh, I'm not gonna text this person back because they're not gonna like what I have to say, or like da-da-da-da-da, or like, oh wow, I'm overcommitted, I said yes to way too many things because I was afraid to tell someone no because I didn't want them to. But knowing that in time that goes away too, like, even this is dropped, like,
yeah. Or if that's something that you're naturally good at a young age, something else you're going to develop with time and age. If it's not graceful, like, because it depending on the person in the situation, I could easily say, hell the fuck no, right now. Hell the fuck no. Like, I could do that. But there's other things that I see in some people that are older than me or just like more experienced in certain realms and certain practices than I am. I have so much respect, and it's almost like reverence for the ways that they carry themselves. And it's like, oh, I have so much to learn from you. It's like, oh, someone could be your age and be like, I have a lot to learn from that person. Someone could be double your age. Wow, I have a lot to learn from that person. Someone could be more than double your age, and you'd be like, I've learned all I can from you at this point. You'll teach me more when it's time. Like, it just depends on, like, the people that we are, and, like, you know, our synastry, our, like, the way that the synastry embodies itself. It is all very relevant.
It all goes back to the synastry.
It all goes, this episode at least it does. Yeah.
I feel like for me it's always going back to the synastry. Everything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, to wrap it up, I just want to know what it's like for you in this moment, being in a place that was circled on a map in time.
Can you define kind of what you mean by that?
To know that this moment that we're experiencing together right now, like,
was like,
this is a convergence point. This
is a portal in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's that like?
It's really interesting. You know what I think about is, like, because everyone's going to watch this or view it or listen to it at different times. And I can, like, feel the different little connections to, like, the network of people. And I think about that. I think about, like, okay, say someone's, like, taking a drink of water. Like, what if they did that right when I was saying that? Like, stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, I think about the little connections, because when I listen to or review, like, podcasts that I enjoy, there's constantly, like, the person's saying exactly the word that I had in my mind already, and I'm like, how did they know? Or, like, they'll be trying to think of the word for something, and they're like, da-da-da, and it comes to my mind, and then they say it at first, and I'm like, yeah, I helped you out with that. Like, I sent it to you telepathically, but you said that way before I even saw this or thought of it, you know? Just the way we're kind of connecting beyond time. It really makes me think of, like, the timelessness, and especially, like, with the internet, like, we're gonna have, like, an upload date, and, like, there's times and everything, da-da-da-da, whatever. But the meeting space that we all meet in during these moments, during these podcasts, is beyond any form of time. Because, you know, you listen when you listen, I guess you can quantify it like that, but how are we supposed to measure the little synchronicities that unfold within that, if they're unfolding? Because I always do for me. Like, I don't know about any of our viewers, but it always happens for me. Every time. How is it like for you?
Thank you. Yeah. It's like, it's different, and it's the same from how I expected it to be, I guess. Because in one way there's a knowing, like, I was in a very busy season 2 weeks ago. I felt like I was running 100 miles per hour, and now in this moment I'm still, and I'm available to go deep. And knowing that I was coming to this place, but then now being here and feeling the ways that it's what I expected and the ways that it's different. And yeah, and being interested for what that, I mean, it's just continuous. Like, every single moment is this. Like, every single moment is this convergence place. Every single moment is a point circled exactly, like, where it will be in time. Yeah. Back to the loops.
We're always, that's going to be a theme for us, is us.
Yeah. Yeah, but, yeah. For me in this moment, there's just, like, gratitude and harmony and, yeah, and just kind of like a breather. It's like, okay, I'm breathing here. Like, I'm kind of taking a pause. Like, I'm on the path, and I'm kind of just stepping off in this peaceful moment. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here, Elise. And
I appreciate you too.
that hears this later on. I appreciate all of that.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us in this space. I think a place, you know, a good note to end on is, like, harmony and grace and connectedness.
Love.
I love it. Yeah. Peace and love to everyone. Peace and love,
Peace
guys.
and love.
Peace and love.